Eric, before you start your PowerPoint presentation, what do you think of the elimination of potentially that lag time of approving what were great products and now no longer great products, and getting ahead of it with the law and the regulations?
Yeah, well, certainly I'm a big fan of it in summary, but I believe it's very important for regulators to actually set a clear sailing path. When you see oddball products springing up that seem at the edges and corners, I think it's often because there are people that want to bring new types of products in. There isn't really a clear way, and they will often veer, and it's, I think, far more constructive to set a target out there, just as Nevada has done now, stating very clearly this is what a skill and hybrid game look like, this is what they're going to do, to have standards, and people will follow that. So I think it's very powerful. I think it's very astute and sensible of the Nevada regulatory structure to do this, and the legislature. I mean, there was, if I have this correct, I don't believe there was any opposition, any vote of opposition, all the way through the legislature. The governor signed it immediately. The Gaming Commission was on board. The Gaming Control Board was on board. Everybody was involved. AGM was involved in helping craft that legislation. So everybody pulling together and getting in front of it and setting a clear path that everybody will now follow. I think that's really a healthy way to go versus having these oddball products show up. That puts a lot of pressure in to make exception cases, and then you get more of this patchwork of kind of strange regulations, and then it's just very slow.
So Eric, we're going to have you do a PowerPoint presentation, and what Eric's going to talk about is what this new product is going to do for states like Nevada. For example, the opportunity costs that are lost by not changing the law, the demographic that's attracted to this. I think they're trying to get that certain age group out of the away from the pool at the Hard Rock and into the casino, and so Eric, and then the type of product and what they're attracted to. So,
John, may I add one thing? I think one thing to keep in mind with what I said. There's always going to be the need for states to look at a particular product. I think what we're talking about in this case is a class of products, and that's really what this is all about. So it's saying let's get on the front end the regulations and the technical standards designed to allow for this class of products, so that when the product is brought in, as Eric says, you're not going to have the situation of somebody coming in with something that's so much deviates from those that it doesn't fit. You're going to have people building according to those standards, technical standards and regulations on the front end. So when I say that, it's important for states to understand we're not saying that, no, you're not going to do anything, but you are going to have a system which just frankly makes a lot more sense for not only the state, but for the manufacturers and ultimately the casinos. And of course, this is all about the patrons and bringing in a new cadre of patrons who are going to do more than just drink and eat, but indeed are going to be interested in participating in games that, like Eric will show you, that are really ones that resonate with them, and that's what it's all about.
And also with the as the chairman was saying, with laying a clear path and developing these regulations, it also attracts money, investment. There's no surprises. Here's the regulations, here's the law, here's what we want to develop, or it's worth putting money into.
So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit to the numbers, and I think the point of this is why is this important? So why is something like SB 9 or new regulations important to the industry, to the casino gaming industry? What we're seeing right here, this is the U.S. population, pretty close as far as the Census Bureau data. The red block, or the box, is around millennials of legal wagering age, which obviously starts at 21, and Gen Xers. And so primarily the really tough area to address is within this red box. Perhaps if you scooted the right corner in a little bit, that would be the 21 to 45 demographic. Core target group. Why is that important? Well, what you see in the upper left corner is a repeat of that same population graph. And what you see below that is the casino visitation as a percent of each group. And so the good news is that they're coming to casinos that the two target demographics, call it up through under 50. They're actually just about the highest visitation groups on a percent basis into casinos. The millennials actually are the highest. And so now that you've got them there, is how do you monetize, right? How do you attract them? What we do see, though, as a problem is the slot machine engagement, which of total revenues, basically, and play, that is how it breaks down. So the thin blue sliver equates to the 21 to 34 demographic, and as you can see, they have basically little or no interest in slots, going up to through 44 to a greater degree, but not all that interesting. So the bulk of the market is an older market, it's aging. I think generally everybody knows that. Now granted, in what I'm talking about here, it's going to vary in certain regions. So you might have some regional differences, but this is overall US industry numbers. So what we have here in the upper left is, this is the casino visitation of 21 plus who play slots. These are people you already have as customers, right? And if you take and you consider that when people reach into their late 70s, assuming 77 towards 80, they're going to come to the casinos less or not at all. I won't say they're going to die, because I'm not that far away to it myself, but the point is they are just not going to go play like they used to. This would be the decline that you would see in the gaming business as it stands, which would decline by potentially up to 65% if you just wrote it out and you weren't able to engage anybody new who you're not engaging today. Underneath it, you see that blue graph, and what that is that are people that actually are coming to casinos that are not touching gaming. And you can look at the population increase progressed out over 20 years in the same time frame. And that market's going to grow by 60% during that same time frame. What you have on the right is the stack of those two graphs. And you can get an idea of the magnitude of the difference. So the red on the bottom of that graph are people you are already engaging that are in casinos playing electronic gaming machines. The blue bars are people that are coming to the casinos but are not touching the games. This here goes to what is the percent of engagement. So if you look at the growth rate, if you stack the two bars, that would be a growth rate of about 2.5% year on year, which would be a pretty modest but sustainable growth rate. To do that, you're going to have to engage over a third. Over 1/3 of the people that are not interested in slots today will have to become interested in them, in electronic gaming machines. So there are theories where people say as people get older, they get more interested. I don't believe so. I think we've crossed into a new paradigm of entertainment. It's the cell phones and all this that we have. It's changed every industry it touches. People are more interested in social networking. They're playing games on those phones. And the value of entertainment and skill and interactivity is all part of that. In fact, with the SB 9 legislation and the regulations that follow, it allow for new types of gaming, but also allow for connection to social networking, provided it's done properly on the game. So that puts the challenge that's in front of the industry to remain relevant. If you stack the green bars on top of this, the green bars reflect everyone else of that age demographic. These are people that aren't coming to casinos. The reality is you're not going to get the majority of that, but there's your growth potential above 2.5%, right? So you have both a threat and an opportunity. The threat is, over the next 20 years, a third of the people that are uninterested in games today have to be, or a third of the total population, people that aren't playing games at all, have to be converted to have an interest in it. The green bars is everybody else. There is a total addressable market there. It far outweighs this current market. There's the potential to get some slice of that additional market. So we always ask the question, what are they doing? Here's what the numbers show from Flurry Analytics. Everybody's playing games on their phones for the most part. That is the #1 use of smart devices that everybody has in the age bracket from 18 up through 54, if you look at it. And obviously peaks in right around the key target area, 25 to 34. It outstrips use of it for social networking, surfing the web, whatever else one might do with the phone. So they're playing games. It's something that's interesting to everybody. And it averages out, when you blend all the numbers together, to about 41 minutes per game per day. Or 41 minutes, sorry, per individual per day on average. So we begin to think about, all right, so if that's the case, what's some example models that might be interesting to look at? Well, Dave & Buster's rised up pretty high as far as one exemplary company or concern, if you will, that has figured out a way to attract and interest people, right? So what have they done different? They have put an environment together that's fun to be in, and the gaming's interwoven in it. We think this is the key for casinos as well, that it's going to be more than just putting a few games somewhere and saying, okay, those now have skill, and expecting that people are going to gravitate to it. It really needs to be a place where people want to go. They want to hang out. And for the record, I don't think we will or should try to pull them off the pool. I know that's where I'd rather be during the day, but that pool starts shutting down around 3 o'clock. And between 3 o'clock, when the clubs really start going, you've got a huge dead period where it's a little too early to really drink heavily for most people. And if it's anything like what I see in my own nephews of legal age to go to casinos, they're just in the room watching TV or on their mobile devices. They don't know what to do, basically, because there's only so much they're going to do. They're waiting for the clubs and the nightlife to get going. That is a prime time of the day, right? To provide a day club, an altar lounge, somewhere where it's kind of fun to be, where people want to hang out, and you seam the gaming right in the middle of it. The rendition shown below is an example of what maybe a game lounge and zone would be like, where you have competitions going on, things happening. We would think DJ in there, fun to be at. Just one example. But when you look at Dave & Buster's, they have, for each location, they have over 150 games. They turn about 10% of those a year. So they're always refreshing and updating content, which is very important. And it's very important for us as an industry that we're prepared for that. So I think the era of just having a title come out and it just stays, there are going to be those home runs. But if you look at the games industry today, it's a high turn, right? People, they get bored of the thing, they want to try something different. They're hitting the target demographic with a balanced mix of males and females. So a very effective methodology. In the last few years, while we've seen growth difficult in the U.S. casino industry, they're managing pretty decent year-on-year growth. And, they did it coming off the tail of the Great Recession. So they've got a product that's working, and I think there's a model there for us to think about. And this, I think, is also another salient point on Dave & Buster's. They're making half their revenue in the games. So these are games that you're putting money in, you're getting tickets, right? You can go redeem for an object that has little or very little value relative to what you put into the game. But it's interesting and fun. Half their revenues are coming there, half from food and beverage and entertainment. So to me, that's a very healthy, diversified casino market right there. That's Las Vegas, where Las Vegas wants to be. Wants to grow, but doesn't want to grow because it's just coming through food and beverage, right? It's diversification. Also coming through gaming revenues, which are going to be often your highest margin channel. So there's an example of one company with high gross profit margins. They blow away their competitors on gross profit margin and EBITDA margin significantly, simply because they've got that balance of games and the food and beverage part right. Another area that I think we could look at as an example is esports. There's been a lot of talk. You'll hear a lot of it at the conference and probably see some examples at the show. Esports is a very interesting thing. This is something that has captured the interest of people watching teams compete on, AAA console type games. Where esports goes for the real money casino industry is an interesting question, which I won't try to answer here, but I think there are challenges to how you actually bring it in.